Curious. When most people look at Bitcoin, they see a ticker symbol, a price chart, maybe a global ledger of accounts. It makes sense to view it as money. That use case is very real. But viewing this network strictly through a financial lens leaves out the most interesting part of its architecture. Since the early days of the web, digital ownership has suffered from a critical weakness: location. Platforms host your content, games hold your assets, and databases store your files. But all those servers are controlled by administrators who can alter, move, or delete your data with a single keystroke. Contrast that fragile web ecosystem with Bitcoin's underlying structure. Its ordering system is global, public, and nearly impossible to rewrite. It operates as a permanent database. If you want true digital ownership, you need a substrate where data cannot be moved or erased by a central authority. To use that permanent substrate, we have to rethink how we navigate it. We have to start treating the blockchain's timeline as an addressable environment. Every Bitcoin block ever mined possesses a fixed set of characteristics. It has a specific block height, a distinct position in the chain's history, and an immutable payload of data. This is where a protocol called Bitmap comes in. Bitmap takes those fixed block characteristics and makes them spatially legible. Now, this can trigger the wrong metaphors. We are not talking about drawing a fantasy map on top of the chain, or carving up physical real estate, or stacking concrete blocks. Think of how the early internet evolved. The web needed specific domains and URL paths to tell users exactly where information lived. Bitmap gives Bitcoin a similar framework. By using block height as a reference point, a purely sequential timeline becomes a navigable map. Bitmap provides the essential location layer. It takes a historical record of transactions and structures it into a distinct digital environment. Once you establish a spatial coordinate system, the next logical question follows: what actually populates those coordinates? The answer lies in digital matter theory, or DMT. This is a framework for discovering and defining non-arbitrary digital material directly inside existing block data. Most crypto assets are invented out of thin air, with properties decided by their creators. DMT artifacts are entirely different. Their structures are derived from the blockchain's inherent data. This diagram shows how these specific artifacts form. Within that raw data stream, specific patterns naturally emerge. These are known as native artifacts, or NATs. Because the pattern originates from a specific block, it slots perfectly into the spatial coordinate grid we established earlier. We are witnessing the transition of block data into a raw, computational material, the foundational substrate for building within the cyberspace. Broader perspective. The market often focuses on temporary hype cycles, but the underlying trajectory of this technology points to a much longer-term shift. This diagram illustrates the full progression. Ordinals made inscriptions legible on the base ledger, DMT made the data act as material, and Bitmap provided the spatial coordinates to map it all out. Collectively, these components form the foundational architecture for a completely new, permanent cyberspace. The financial utility of the network remains, but adding a spatial coordinate system expands the design space from simple settlement to complex digital architecture. Bitcoin's evolution has moved past the ledger, providing the immutable coordinates and native material required to sustain digital assets indefinitely.